Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another movie review. And we're starting early. Happy Memorial Day, by the way. But I figure I have the spare time while I'm not at work. I figure I'll get to jump on this week with some movie reviews for Father's Day. And I figure I can hit two birds with one stone because I also want to, you know, put in some um, sprinkle in every now and again. Maybe not like a whole month's worth, but uh, sprinkle in some sports movies too. But I figured, like, while I was on that notion, like, you know what, I should toss in on the list for Father's Day, the Game Plan, starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And yeah, I mean, I actually think it's a dope movie. It's like one of those early The Rock movies, because he was already big, but it's like as far as like a movie star, because he's big now, but it's like those stepping stones, because he was getting there. It's like uh because I believe this did well. This is like, good children uh movies, and they typically do well, especially overseas, when it's like uh in those child movie thing where it's like no, you know cursing or barely any cursing, or like nothing to do with like magic or occult kind of thing, because like certain countries, you know don't want that in their you know society or whatever. But I don't think I saw that. I know I didn't see this in the theaters, but I remember watching this on TV, and I, thoroughly enjoyed it. Uh, so yeah, uh, you know, like I said, it stars Dwayne The Rock Johnson as Joseph Joe Kingman, who has like a seems like a weird love for uh, what's his name? Uh, Elvis. But I'm not one to talk because, like, we all got our love for something. But then we got Peyton, Madison Pettis, who plays his daughter Peyton Kelly. Rosalind Sanchez, playing like Monica Vasquez. We also got Kira Sedgwick as Stella Peck and Morris Chestnut as Travis Sanders. And yeah, one on the subject, Rosalind Sanchez, you would expect her to be this. I mentioned plenty of times about, like, Eva Mendes and, like, other certain actresses that have been in, like, who play like love interest, type of roles, and especially during like the early to mid 2000s, that you would expect them to be like, because they're the character actors kind of thing for the most part, but it's just like, them by their just faces, if not their entire like name and repertoire. But it's like, man, she should be like, you know doing leads in certain something, because like, she's like, she's had like a good list of movies she's been in. It's like wild to me how, like, she's not like, you know like as big as other, like, mega stars by this point. And the Game Plan, was directed by Andy Fickman, who also did another Dwayne The Rock Johnson early film, Race to Witch Mountain. And he done a fair bit of, like, very kid comedy oriented kind of film. He did one with uh, John Cena playing with fire back in 2019. That didn't really do too well, is what I've heard. I never watched it. It didn't seem like something I would be interested in watching. But the game plan had like a budget of 22 million and raked in 146.6 million dollars at the box office wise. I'm assuming this is gross, global gross. So like I said, like you know, not only The Rock had like a the star power, but he also had the charm and like he did like a great job building his acting portfolio. And yeah, so anyway, Dwayne plays Joe Kingman, who's like a quarterback to the Boston Rebels. And so it's like, you get one of those deals where he's like, he's living his life, living his best life. He's like, star quarterback. He's pretty much like the I'm blanking on the freaking the Patriots guy, the ex-Patriots guy. I'm blanking on his doggone name. What the hell? What's wrong with me? It's like Tom Brady. Jesus. Yeah. I'm because I had to look at it. I was like, wow, it's on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, he's pretty much the Tom Brady of this fictitious uh, uh, football team. Now, I'm not sure why they chose not to make these legit real world teams, but it's whatever. I guess they didn't want to pay anybody because it's just like a children's kind of movie. But yeah, so like as like on and off the field is all about him kind of situation. He's having a party at his like high rise apartment, and he's like parties with women. And it's like it's like he got pictures of himself like and his dog. It's like he's doing it up. Everybody's loved Joel Kingman, and like his team is like they're a fun bunch, but it's like other than like Morris Chestnut's character, who seems kind of like more like the more wiser guy, kind of like the Jiminy Cricket of the whole situation. And they like to bust each other's balls, and like Q1 says it's Morris Chestnut because he plays Travis Sanders, but I was gonna call him Morris Chestnut because it's the only way I remember him. Morris Chestnut is like pretty much leaving the party, and everybody's like Joe and the team is like, what you Travis, like, you leaving already? It's like yeah, man, I gotta get home. Is and like they take his wife, like, oh, it's Joe's like, oh, it seems like you forgot your man purse, and it's like they and then like Travis pointed out like you call this living, man? I gotta get home. Pretty much, well, it's like the way you can easily read it is like because he's a family man. Of course, he got his career as a football player, and he digs his teammates. But at the end of the day, he's going home to his wife and children, and he's not staying out crazy late because he's not he's not like a 20 or 30 something year old anymore. It's like he got different priorities. So everybody's long gone, and now it's like it's just Joe and his dog, and he seems like he it's obvious on his face, like he's kind of freaking lonely, But next day, uh, there's a knock on his door, and it's this little girl named Peyton who says like, I'm your daughter, and it's like nice little camera shot, pans straight up to his face, like it just hit him. I can only imagine like what would be like to a guy. He had this little girl knocking on your door saying like I'm your kid, and I was like what? And so he calls his agent over, played by Kira Cedric, and and Peyton goes over that her mom sent her on a plane with a car to take her to her father's house, and because she's going off to Africa to like help with like relief and everything like that. So she figures it'd be best to leave him with her father, and with Peyton's insistence that she wants to meet her father, and Peyton brings up that her mother's sister passed away from an accident, so she can't look after her because like this is like an inopportune time for, especially towards like the agent's like mindset. This is like an inopportune time to like deal with this. Because like, can you imagine if like the press found out that you had like a kid had some kid that you didn't help raise, and you abandoning it, kind of thing. So they gotta pretty much play play defense, but it's like you kind of like do some what's the terminology for it, like not crowd control, but it's like I'm blanking on the terminology, but it's pretty much like trying to make sure everybody's whatever. But so Joe has to bring the kid because he has to go to practice, so he has to bring the kid with him. And while she's trying to she had a little Tupperware full of cookies she baked, and on the way there she's like asking him all these questions, trying to get to know him, obviously. So she is a very cute kid, and she lists off some questions like if you can save anything in a fire, what would you save? And he's like I'll save my like a I think like a signed football or something like that. And like what's the one thing you cherish the most, kind of thing, just trying to like get to know her dad. So, and he's obviously not really paying attention. He's just like so focused on like I gotta get to the game, at the same time I gotta deal with this. So let's he's trying to rush through all this stuff so he can like try to like pretty much like get things under control, because everything's coming undone for him right now. So he eats the cookie, not realizing that he's allergic to cinnamon, which she added to the cookie, or at least the batter. And so he's talking like Sylvester the cat for most of the day. And then like of course, he gets upset, and she's like, because a cute little girl, and she's like, "I'm sorry, like, I'm allergic to nuts," showing more, uh, what they got in common. But I also like, the earlier scene, because there's always, when I think of the game plan, that scene's, because I remember it from the trailer for this, because that's always stuck out with me. And it's like he does this like we don't even look alike, and he does this big smile, and she does this cute little, and it's like, oh my god, this is like, she is straight up your kid. This is straight up your kid. Uh, and then like the other team members, sees like, and finally like, oh, this is like uh hey, this is Joe's kid. So it's like, it's just fun to see, like, because I remember when I was like around that age, because my father, plays softball with his friends. He has the whole team and stuff like that. Growing up, me and my younger brother always go out, like, not always, but we like spending time every once in a while going to his games. And like, I remember like, going to the locker room while they're like changing and stuff like that. And, we like to help practice with, his teammates. So like, like it kind of brought me back to that. And me like joshing around with my father's teammates. And it's like usually like a fun summertime, kind of deal. So when you see like, Peyton's like, you know, just shooting the shit with the fellas in the locker room. Of course, she's got like bandages on, because you can't like, have this little girl, walking around with, shirtless dudes all around. It's like not appropriate for little girls. And uh, and of course, Morris Chestnut's character is telling like, uh, Joe is like, this is a wonderful thing if you can, just pretty much let it be, because like, children are precious. So, of course, Joe, it's like, man, it's like, I'm not trying to hear it. It's just like, not that he doesn't like the kid, but it's like, this is kind of like turn everything upside down for him. He even brings the kid to his because he has like this like, sports bar slash club he set up. Once again, it's like, pretty much, well, it's not that dissimilar to like Michael Jordan's restaurant here in Chicago. But, during the grand opening, instead of leaving the kid with like some kind of babysitter, because this is totally like, it's like how this guy is. He doesn't consider, because he's a parent now, and he got, because the kid comes first, and the well-being of the kid comes first, and he doesn't really consider the fact that he can't bring his kid to this kind of environment. And like, so he just brings her. And of course, a couple of the team members, play around with her, but they, for the most part, they're trying to like the party. And he's so like self-involved with his own thing, camera people, and like what have you. And he like, he leaves and he forgets his kid while he's wandering the club, looking for him. And he, peels his way back, looking for the kid. And then he, bops a paparazzi who, pretty much, getting in his face. So this caused like a whole incident. Now he's got to do damage control. That's the word that I was looking for, the terminology. Damage control. God, thank you. Pretty much got to do damage control for this whole situation. But thanks to Peyton, who's like, with him at this conference, they're all dressed up in like Boston Rebels gear, and she pretty much jumps in. And you see this in real life a few times during these conferences when these players bring their kid along with them, and like they answer questions, and it's always like the cutest thing. So since like she smoothed things over with like the media and like the common people, she pretty much like points out to Joe later, it's like, now you owe me, so I want you to take me to this ballet class or the studio, because she's into ballet. So he goes to this ballet school run by Rosalind Sanchez character Monique Vasquez, which eventually starts up a relationship between her and Joe. And like because it's so late to the game so far as like new entries for students, she at first didn't want to like bring on any new students because like I said, it's a little bit late, but as soon as she sees like Peyton's form, she reconsiders very quickly. But she expressed to Joe that there's commitment to on the student's part and a commitment to the parents' part. And you gotta like because you express to him like, this is not daycare. I expect commitment from the parents as well as the student. And like he's trying to pull on the charm term to her, but she's not feeling it. Cause like, I'm Joe Kingman, baby, and it's like, I don't know you. And it's kind of like, cause this kid and this woman, and to a certain extent, Morris Chestnut's character Travis, all, put Joe, like, checks Joe's purpose pretty much. And it's like, he has to seriously humble himself because he's like so full of himself and so arrogant. Not like he's a bad person, but it's just like, it's like typical for like, celebrities. It's like, you reach to a certain peak of celebrity and it's like, hey, I don't have to, everybody loves me kind of thing. And it's like, not everybody. Excuse me. But, Joe pretty much criticizes, ballet, which once again she had to humble him, and because it kind of reminds me of like when a friend of mine took me to yoga a few years back. Now, it was the only time I actually done it, but it's like I never sweated so much, doing like a certain activity in my life, because I was literally pouring sweat. It was like all these little moves and like so it's like I understand the fact that like Joe's like there's certain is more athletic requirement compared to in ballet compared to football. And all the while getting this set up for his daughter, they're at home and she's like messing around with his stuff, and it's like the iPad kind of stuff. This is like early, because I don't even think like, because this came out in like 2007. I'm pretty sure iPads started to exist at that point, but he has like remote control thing directly from this iPad thing, where Peyton's sitting there playing around with it, trying to figure out the remote to the TV, and she presses a button called romance, and hear all this like 70s romance kind of music. I'm pretty sure it's Marvin Gaye. While the lights dim and she's sitting there giggling, and then she got toys everywhere. He's tripping over everything. She got that bedazzle thing. Remember those bedazzle stuff? She bedazzled one of his signed footballs they had on a trophy display, and it was like and then you got also this like funny moment where he's trying to feed her. At least a couple of times he's trying to feed this girl. One with like dinner time with like feed her spaghetti, and she got this like big this plate with this like a mountain pile of spaghetti. It's almost big as her head, and he expected her to finish all that. But then like in the morning, he's trying to he's fixing this kind of like protein shake kind of thing, and like you put on this gross crap in it. And of course, before he had time to put the top on the blender, she's sitting there pressing a button and like, making a huge mess in the kitchen. And of course, he had to like, and this, I like this because like there's plenty of times when he's like, because like kids can get on your nerves and they can do things that make you upset, but it's like you gotta check that because it's like most of the time they're not doing it on purpose. So he's like, I'm not going to yell. It's okay. And he's like, he breathes, but he has to lay down the law right now because it's like, set some kind of boundaries with these kids. So he, put some paper down, and he sent him like a play, like a football play. It's like, this is out of bounds. Like, you're not like, excuse me. Close my window because got like bugs flying in. I'm trying to keep cool, but that's one of the drawbacks of summer. Like you can't open up a door without something trying to crawl in, or a window without someone trying to crawl in. Excuse me. But anywho, so yeah, it's pretty much like the kitchen is out of bounds now. Because, you know why? Because you made a big mess. Because, so now you can't come in here without me. So, but after a while, he was having such a good time, with his daughter, taking her to, ballet practice. And eventually he took her and her classmates to this like fun zone kind of thing where all these girls just like playing around, having a bunch of like Barbie dolls and doing hairs, and he's there with Miss Vasquez, getting closer obviously. But then on a night of like the big ballet, it was like a nice little warm moment between these two where Peyton is like getting like stage fright, and he tells her like, I get nervous all the time. And it's it's like, but we Kingmans don't quit. So we made a commitment. We're gonna go out there, and it's like, you're gonna do great. And he's giving her like a pep talk and encourage her, like, you're gonna like be fantastic. Mind what these other people think. You go out and do the best you can to your fullest, and like whether they like you or not, Doesn't matter as long as you are having a good time and you doing what you love. And then Miss Vasquez, handed him a leotard because he's supposed to be like I don't know, a tree or something in the play. And of course, I think Peyton brought and invited his well, I say yeah, his entire football team, but honestly, there's only at least like 4 particular guys that he's distinctly friends with. So they're like all in the audience watching Joe and Peyton in this play, and it goes off without a hitch. It was like it's they expect to laugh, but with all the practicing he's been doing with Peyton and Ms. Vasquez, for a large guy, he did exceptionally well. And so so after this, like because it's been like nearly a month since Peyton arrived, and they're getting along. Oh, and they did have like a blow up one time where it's like Joe's little little flame he had, it's like I think she's like Russian, or Yugoslavian or something like that. And while she was away, she came back to hook up with like Joe, and of course Peyton, being like a spunky little kid who's like don't like this woman this off the bat. And so as soon as she walks in and she's got her arms crossed, and it's like, oh, so, oh, you must be so and so, giving like a different name, like who's that? And like, oh, I'm sorry, and it's just giving her attitude like, I'm Joe's daughter. It's like, and of course, like Joe's just ruining the night. I mean, like Peyton's ruined Joe's night with this woman. So Joe is like, pretty much like, irked the fact that like, Peyton interfered. And so they had this big blow up. And then Joe's come to a realization like, now remember why, me and your mother didn't stick together? Because like, she always get in my head. She always tell me what I did wrong. Cause like, probably not since this woman, nobody bothered to check Joe, because like everybody, it's pretty much like like a star effort with him. But Joe's like, you squirt your nose just like her, and you get those brown eyes, which I think is kind of cute, but it's just like her. And Peyton screams like, and I'm glad because like I'd rather be her and not you. And of course she storms into her room, and Joe's taken aback a bit, and it's like he plays the guitar, smooth things over with Peyton, because he doesn't want his daughter to think he doesn't care for her, or wants to not want anything to do with him or anything like that. Which, I don't know all parents, but from what I've witnessed, it's very rare I've seen like a parent, check themselves and apologize to their kid. Because most parents will be like, you sit there, fine, and expect the kid to apologize, not, acknowledge anything they did there any wrong on their part. But good on Joe for like acknowledging that okay he was one across the line. But Peyton should also be the one to. Well, I'm pretty sure she apologized, but she the one to kind of like mess things up because he wanted to be on like a date and she kind of interfered. So, like I said, everything was going smoothly after like the play thing. Miss Vasquez, Peyton, uh, and Joe was having like brunch together, and then Peyton let it slip that she's supposed to have been somewhere else, but she is very like Kevin McAllister of Home Alone kind of kid smarts, where she can just set up to where she gets on like a particular plane instead and get a cat ride to Joe's place. He figured out like where he lived and all this other stuff. Not saying like, kids her age can't figure things out, because you got kids who knows how to use like iPads in such a young age, so it's not too far fetched, but there's a little bit of leap in logic that I mean, on a case by case basis, you like, okay, you're stretching a bit as far as how this kid's that knowledgeable to to get certain things done. But Peyton accidentally ate something that had nuts in it, so she had to be rushed to the hospital. That's when Peyton's aunt shows up, and this confuses Joe because like Peyton said you were dead, but then like Don had to clear it up. It was like, no, the mother died several months ago, and this stems from the fact that why Peyton was so eager to meet her father, because she's looking, she lost one parent and she needs to connect with the other, even though her mother said like, told her like, oh, she doesn't, your father doesn't know you exist. So she figured like, she made like a big decision to like try to figure out a way to meet her father. Now that she's here, Joe is adamant that he wants to raise his kid, but the aunt, who's the legal guardian, tells like, no, like you have a life, and it's like and like you don't even know she existed, but it's like it's pretty much like arguing who should have who should be raising this kid. And Peyton, after like overhearing the sports agent thinking like Joe's probably would be better off, will have a better life without her, without her messing things up, so she leaves with her aunt. And of course this leaves like Joe in a sullen mood, and Morris Chestnut meets up with him and tells him like just let her know that you love her and you always be there for her. It's the most you can do right now. Just because let her know you love her, and that will never change. But then of course this is like this time of the big game, Joe's not fully concentrating, he gets hurt. They have to take him off the field to recuperate a bit. Then Peyton and her aunt shows up, and it's like a complete like 180 of feelings coming from the aunt, saying like she is your daughter, and like it's only right that you be a part of her life. No, duh. It's like it's like now that he does know, and he's adamant he want to be in this girl's life, and he's been doing a great job with her so far as she's been with him. It's like, why would you not expect him not to be a part of her life? Because clearly he's not like an asshole. He was arrogant, but it was not an asshole to the point where it's like, you know, I don't want nothing to do with this kid kind of thing. Because like that wouldn't make no effing sense. What kind of shitty person would say that about their own kid? But then he gets back on the field with encouragement from his daughter. You know, and now that his focus is clear, he gets out there, kills it on the field, and wins the big game. And you know, everything, you know, it's got a happy ending. That Joe's like, you know, is like, you know, pretty much, you know, beginning a family with this kid. It's never resolved on like what's between him and Ms. Vasquez, but like one would believe that would have led to something. Considering that, like I said, she's one of the few people that checks Joe and is not like mesmerized by any kind of star power of his. But yeah, like the game plan, it's a pretty solid film. It's a nice little kids movie, great to watch with your kids, if you have any. But it's just like a fun movie to watch, and it's like, you know, by and large, you know, The Rock's movies are just fun, just like a fun, good time. I haven't seen like there's only one Fast and Furious movie that I've seen him in, and it was the first one where he was introduced. But I think that was the last movie, it was Fast and Furious movie that I ever seen. Because, you know, because I know people like to say like, oh, it's a fun romp kind of film. It's like turn your brain off, but it's like, let's turn your brains off movie, and then there's straight up just dumbass movies that's, you know, because like even some turn your brain off movies have some level of, you know, understanding of the rules and logic of the world. Even the MCU follows some level of logic, and you can easily explain why, you know, the fantastical parts, because that's what they are meant to be, the fantastical stuff. But you know, driving cars in space and people talking about like, you know, let it be connected to, you know, Man in Black and Transformers and make it this whole big thing. Just make it stupid. I was like, no. I remember the Fast and Furious movies being like just heist movies. And they, you know, went the heist movies to like spy shit, and then now they just like do whatever. Make it part of the world of Jurassic Park for all anybody cared. And it's like, God, it's like just, I'm glad they're making one final movie, because it's gone downhill for me, in my opinion. I haven't seen any Fast and Furious movies since like I think the fifth one. But I haven't seen Hobbs and Shaw either. And like I said, still like, of course, this is when like, you know, not too long after The Rock and Vin Diesel had, you know, a falling out. Which is weird because both of these guys are supposed to be like the most, you know, charming, likable people. As you don't see them really, you know, have any beef with people like that in the past. This is like kind of wild to me. And then like making bad guys into good guys that just need to be bad guys. One and done bad guys. You got like, you know, Shaw who kill Han, but somehow Han is not really dead, and it's like, and then he's became part of the family, and it's like the whole thing is fucking stupid. And I just heard recently that they're, you know, bringing in Dominic Toretto's grandmother into the fray after a couple of movies prior they introduced his mom, and it's like, oh my God, the whole thing is entirely dumb. But I digress. But like for the most part, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's movies are just fun, and just I'm looking forward to like the Black Adam movie, even though he's constantly saying he wants his character to fight Superman, and it's like, okay, cool, sure, we all will want to see that, but right out the gate, you would expect him, like the studios be like, yeah, I know it's like he's at a certain star power where like he gets what he wants kind of situation, but I'm pretty sure they brought it to his attention, but they kind of caved. But it's like, we'll get to that, Dwayne, but it's like your first, fight should be with Shazam, Captain Marvel, because you're each other's enemy. You're not Superman's bad guy. It'd be like, they'd be like, uh, 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 shit, what's a good example? Like, they making another Superman movie, and like, Lex Luthor, uh, it's like a guest starring role or something, and he's talking about he want to fight, the Joker. I mean, like, no, not the Joker. He wants to fight, Blue Beetle or something like that. It's weird. That'd be weird. It's like, why? It's like, that's like later kind of films where it's like, hey, like, some wild interaction kind of thing. But it's like right out the gate, there's our level of protocols. It's kind of like, Wonder Woman and Cheetah, they got to be the first fight they have with each other. You don't have Cheetah duking it out with Martian Manhunter and her first introduction into the DC universe. That'd be fucking weird. Why would you, like, why? It's like, you see like the disconnect in your mind, or at least like, it doesn't make any sense right out the gate. Like your first introduction, that shouldn't be the first guy you want to fight. But anywho, let me know in the comments below what you think of the Game Plan if you've seen it. But if you haven't seen it, go on Disney Plus. It's on there. Watch it, then come back. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I will see you guys in a little bit with my next movie review for Father's Day. Michael Keaton movie. So look forward to that in a little bit, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.